Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the latest episode of Miami Total Football. It's the day after Inter Miami's first game back from the international break, and it's been a pretty long one since we've done one of these, but Inter Miami picked up where it left off. It was on a losing note to DC United yet again, this time by a 1-0 loss. Now, there was a lot of things that happened during the game, after the game, and even before the game, and we'll touch on all of that, but obviously we'll start with the big refereeing decisions. That was the massive talking point in this one, at least from an Inter Miami standpoint. Team was not happy with the calls that were made. First one was a second yellow card to Gregori in the 56th minute for a foul on Kevin Paredes near the sideline. Leads to his ejection, and Inter Miami left with 10 players. And then in the 72nd minute, Ola Kamara scores off a penalty kick that was given on a handball for Christian Makoun inside the penalty area. And then later on in the game, in the 84th minute, Ryan Shawcross is given a straight red card for a tackle near the sideline. So three big refereeing decisions that went against Inter Miami in this one. And Phil Neville, after the game, said he wanted to be careful with his words. Leandro Gonzalez Pires said he did not want to talk about the refereeing, but they couldn't avoid it, and they made it be known that they were not happy with those calls.
I don't think I've ever seen anything like what I saw on that football field tonight, in terms of some of the decisions that I saw. Two sendings off. Two sendings offs weren't sendings off. Penalty wasn't a penalty. I suppose it's not the first time. It's not the first time. Atlanta, Nashville. So I suppose this is just normal. So that's the disappointment.
I don't want to talk a lot about the referee. So I think he was terrible. He was terrible.
Now, before we jump into the X's and O's and the tactics and the performance from Inter Miami, we're going to stay on this topic of the refereeing decisions, because obviously they're subjective. They're made by the head ref. Obviously, he can go to VAR if need be, but he did not in this case on any of the three plays, the three big plays. And so for me, if you're asking me, because I know everyone's going to have their opinions on all three calls, but for me, I think that the only one I would really disagree with is the second yellow card to Gregori. I think that second yellow, which it ends up proving to be the turning point, because from there Inter Miami starts to crumble a bit. But I think head referee Fotis Bozakos could have not sent him off. I think he could have let him off with one final warning and said, hey, one more of those and you're out of here. I think that he could have held off from that one. I don't think it was that egregious to the point that it needed to be a sending off that obviously changes the course of the game for both teams. Now, the handball for me on Christian Makoun, while unlucky for him because he is with his back turned to the ball, it is in an unnatural position. Now, some will argue that having your arms out is part of the natural movement of jumping to challenge for a ball, and I agree with that, but you don't normally have your arms stretched that far out as he did on the play. Normally they're a little bit closer to your sides, a little more tucked in. His profile, his person was bigger because of how far outstretched his arms were, in my opinion, and I think that it is a right call, albeit unlucky. So I think the penalty kick was the right decision. And then as for Ryan Shawcross, when I saw it on live viewing right away, I thought he went in with a little something extra. Thought it was a yellow, but once I saw the replay and you see that he puts his arm around the neck and tries to throw the player down, that's violent conduct by the letter of the law, by the rule book, and that's a straight red. And you could see Ryan Shawcross didn't even argue it, didn't even really have a reaction to it, just turned around and left the field. He knew what he did. He knew he went in there frustrated. He had shown signs of that on couple of other plays before that, so it was probably just a rush of blood to his head there. So I think that's a red card. I know Phil Neville said after the game that Inter Miami will look to appeal it, but I have a hard time seeing that one get overturned.
In terms of some of the decisions that have been made against us regularly every game by every referee, I try to be really positive. About referees as a manager, and I will always support them. They're only human beings. But some of the things that I'm seeing are a major worry. Major worry for this league.
La realidad es que no tratamos de enfocarnos en los árbitros, pero los árbitros siempre nos terminan perjudicando. No hay un partido que vos me digas que el árbitro me favoreció. Entonces, la realidad es que trato de no hablar, pero es algo que se está haciendo evidente y que se está haciendo repetitivo y que la verdad nos rompe un poco las pelotas.
Now jumping into the actual performance and how Inter Miami did in this one. It was better in the sense that you saw a team with more attitude, with more fight, with more grit, with more effort and more commitment to the cause. That's something that we did not see much of from Inter Miami prior to the international break, something that Phil Neville had said on Thursday during his pregame press conference that he wanted to see from this group, a more collective, cohesive, and combative performance, a team that's tough to beat, and they were better in that sense. Now, from a soccer standpoint, from a playing soccer standpoint, it wasn't great yet again from Inter Miami. They just did not create a whole lot. In this one, they did have one glorious chance late in the first half from Breck Shea, but Bill Hamid came up with a big save to deny him and keep the game scoreless. But that was pretty much it for Inter Miami in this one in terms of chances created. They clearly went to simplify things. They wanted to change up their tactics. Clearly, they had realized that teams were getting the ball off of them with the high press and winning the ball off of them and causing them danger in that way. So in this one, Inter Miami exclusively on goal kicks went long every single time, and I noticed this initially on the first watch, but I noticed it even more on the rewatch. They went long every single goal kick, and they were looking for Breck Shea more often than not. I think maybe one or two occasions they don't target Breck Shea's area. John McCarthy would go long, look for Breck Shea, obviously because of his size and height, and he would try to flick the balls on for second balls for Inter Miami to win and start building play from the middle of the field. They did not want to have the risks that they've taken on other games, building out of the back and then losing it. So simplifying tactics, simplifying the game plan, and playing a little bit more direct was the plan for Inter Miami. It worked in the sense that the team was able to stay in the game. Obviously, you can point to a lot of the chances that Ola Kamara had in that first half that he just failed to put away, doing his best impression of Alvaro Morata of Spain this summer. And in the end, he got his goal, and Inter Miami obviously could not get the 3 points.
Ultimately, we lost the game, and we've got to accept that. We've got to accept that. We do accept that. We've got to make sure that we pick ourselves up for a massive game next week against Orlando in our house. And like I say, we know what we're up against. We know what we've got to do. There's going to be no excuses from any single one of us. We know that.
Now, one final thing to talk about in this one, and it was a massive, massive talking point, was that Gonzalo Higuain did not feature in this one. He wasn't even on the travel roster. He was not in the starting lineup, and he was not on the bench. This is one of Inter Miami's 4 captains, its star striker, and one of the highest paid players in MLS. And it wasn't because of an injury or anything of the like. We were told by an Inter Miami spokesperson that it came down to a technical decision because the team wanted Gonzalo Higuain to stay back and work on his fitness. And that's obviously notable because Inter Miami's coming off a 3-week break, so there should have been plenty of time for him to do so, but Phil Neville shed some light into that briefly, saying that Gonzalo Higuain missed some training sessions. He didn't say why, but he said that Gonzalo Higuain missed some training sessions during the break.
The decision with Gonzalo was an easy one. We've been working hard as a team the last 3 weeks. He's missed quite a few days, So we just wanted him to make sure that he got back to absolute 100% fitness. So he's happy with that decision. We talked, so there's no problems. It's not a big thing. He just wants to make sure that when he plays next, he's at 100% fitness and confidence, and he's working really hard.
Now, there may be some truth to Higuain not being at full fitness and them wanting him to work on that. But there are words and then there are actions. And I don't fully believe that this is why Gonzalo Higuain was left behind. I think that even if he can only give you 15, 20, 30 minutes off the bench, you would take him on the travel roster just to have him as an option if you need him, if the game calls for it. And Inter Miami had plenty of spaces open on their bench. They didn't even fill a full bench on the roster sheet, so they could have taken him. They could have taken him and had him as an option for 5-10 minutes if that's where he's at, even if that's where he's at. but they didn't, and that to me says that Phil Neville has sent a clear message to Gonzalo Higuain and the team that if you are not going to put the team before yourself, then you're not going to be part of the squad and you're not going to play as much as you would like. And I think that's a very big message to send because Gonzalo Higuain is the star striker, one of the 4 captains on the team, one of the highest paid players in MLS. So that sends a huge message, I think, to Higuain and the team itself. I'm curious as to how the team takes that, especially Federico Higuain, how they take that message, because again, I think that the point is that at this point, Inter Miami needs players that are going to sacrifice and fight and put in an effort that maybe is not as glamorous as a number 9 would like it to be, but that is necessary for this Inter Miami team, given its very obvious limitations from the run of play in terms of all of its flaws that it has as a group. It needs just to be a more combative team that has effort and commitment and the right attitude, which, if we're being honest, anyone who's followed Inter Miami has seen that Gonzalo Higuain has not had the best attitude when he's played out there. He obviously is at an older or a later point in his career as well, so he doesn't have necessarily the energy to high press and be able to do things from a defensive standpoint, which obviously you need your number 9 to score goals. That's what they're paid to do. That's the most important function or task that they have. But they also have to do other things through the run of play, through the collective, and Gonzalo Higuain has not been doing those by and large. His performances have been very up and down, hot and cold over the course of the year. He has scored goals, he has gotten assists, but again, just the overall performances in terms of what the team wants to do has not always been great. So I think that's what led to this decision. It's going to be a storyline that's worth following and that plenty of people will be following over the next couple of weeks, over these next 2 games, including on Friday in the Sunshine Classico against rivals Orlando City. Does Phil Neville sit Gonzalo Higuain again? Because we did see some things from Julian Carranza on the pressing side and the effort standpoint that we don't see from Gonzalo Higuain. Maybe not the quality in the final third, didn't get a whole lot of touches there, Carranza against DC United, but we'll see how Phil Neville plays it out. But that about does it for now. What did you think of Inter Miami's 1-0 loss to DC United? Are you upset with the calls? Do you disagree with all of them? Which ones do you agree with that you do think were right decisions from Bosacos? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, let me know what you think about the state of the team. Did you see some progress in this one, or are you still very concerned about the direction of the team given everything that's going on from a performance standpoint as well as off the field with the likes of Gonzalo Higuain not being available to play at all? So let me know, and as always, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We'll be back this week to cover a lot of Inter Miami ahead of its rivalry game, its Sunshine Classico against Orlando City, and we should be doing some interviews in person. That's what we were told, so that's a good bit of news, another step forward to returning to normalcy. So we'll have those interviews on Miami Total Football this week, so make sure you stay locked in. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.